Hi there. Today is a fourth line day. We are in gate 15, the gate of extremes, with the fourth line called the Wallflower. We have a lifetime learning that says modesty as a shield against exposure of inadequacy. To be yourself frees you from being inadequate. And if you can be yourself, then, the Wallflower, they don't have to stand up and shout about anything. They don't have to call attention to themselves. They don't have to do anything at all. They can just sit there and enjoy the sun. The fourth line is part of a very deep social mechanism, and yet at the same time, it is here in this particular fourth line that we see the underlying dilemma that we find in all fourth lines, and that is the inadequacy that always accompanies a fourth line. And there's quite a deep binary at work here. On the one side, they are enormously influential because they are one-tracked and fixed and focused, and that is so powerful. And yet on the other side, by being one-tracked and fixed and focused, there are so many things that are not ever going to be part of their process. So many other possibilities that just get left behind. And unlike the lower trigram that's not really ever ready to meet the other side, the fourth line knows that the other side is there, and it feels inadequate, ill-prepared to meet them. Ra tells us that this is one of the most deeply inadequate of all of the lines in the I Ching. These people feel inadequate because all they can ever do is externalize their extreme. And they always feel like they're out of place until they find an environment or a relationship in which they are part of the flow and their extreme fits in. When their extreme fits in, then they can finally feel okay about the nature of who they are. Think about the children who carry this line. Gate 15, line 4, children can end up with a profound sense of inadequacy in their life because this is collective. This is the collective line that most resembles what it is like to be individual, because this is the collective line that can really feel like a freak, can really feel out of place, because it is so fixed in its extreme. In the exaltation, we have a genuine form that may or may not mask inadequacies, the uncomfortableness of the self when it is out of flow. And that's true. You can be designed to be inadequate, and if you are living out your design, then your inadequacies are going to come out, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you are, if that's what you're designed to be, then that's fine. But we have so many judgments around how we're supposed to behave and all of that kind of stuff. And it's all mind games. Some expressions of uniqueness are fine and some are not. Inadequacy is obviously not really okay. We must all try harder to overcome our inadequacies. Do you remember there was a book called, there is still a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. This is not a book that speaks to our differentiated designs. In the detriment, we have an ultimately weak defense leading to exposure and humiliation, extremism that keeps the self out of the flow. There is a real complexity at work for this one, and it's the only logical gate of love. Love is not even logical, really, but this is a logical gate of love, or a gate of logical love. This is the love of humanity. To bring other people into the flow is their design. It's very magnetic, remember, it draws people in. And the 15-4 can be absolutely fixed on externalizing the flow. You must come into my rhythm. Come and be in my rhythm. And they will be very quick to reject rhythms that are imposed upon them, or conditioning them. And because they're aware in that transpersonal sense that there's something else at the other end, then they can end up in social difficulties with those other forces. That exposure, the humiliation, because, of course, when they get to meet the other side, they meet the fixing of the pattern. Gate 5, fixed rhythms. And their way of rhythm suddenly gets locked. their extremism gets locked. They lose their extreme. They get fixed. And they're already fixed anyway, because they're a fourth line. But there's nothing more humiliating for a 15 than to be fixed by another force. And the 10th gate, line 4, is called the opportunist. So let's just consider for a moment the magic of genetic continuity. Think about all the fourth lines that you may have. I have 11. Think about the fourth lines of other people that you know. And then read the introduction to this line. And it says, the acceptance of norms until a successful transformation can be engendered. Ra says that this line tells you everything you will ever need to know about a fourth line. The acceptance of norms until a successful transformation can be engendered. Fourth lines love backup. He said one thing about a fourth line is that you don't ever leave your job until you've got another job to go to. You don't leave one lover until you've got another lover ready to come in. Always there must be backup. And so you accept the norms until, because that's your backup then, until the successful transformation can come in. So can the opportunist here provide the correct conditions for the wallflower to live out their inadequacies in order to deal with the potential of humiliation? Perhaps there's the opportunity to be in the correct flow. The moon is still in gate 58, the root center gate of the joyous. And it goes into gate 38 at 1650. This is the gate of opposition, the gate of the fighter, an individual root gate with the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. These are natural warriors. They're always ready to stand up for their independence and to fight against the odds to find value and purpose in life. Like all individual gates, there could be some melancholy here, some stubbornness, some deafness, because individuality doesn't want to be influenced. They want to find and fight their own battles. And then we move into gate 54, tomorrow morning at 2:38, BST. This is the marrying maiden, the gate of ambition, and it's a fundamental drive to advance in the world, to be recognized for one's skills and talents. This is projected, it's tribal, and it's a root gate. Recognition is really important, as is the invitation to rise up and transform the fortunes of the tribe. So this is where we are today. These are the energies that are all around us, influencing us. How are they landing with you? Do you have gate 15, line 4? Do you have gate 10, line 4? Or any of the moon gates? Do you ever look at the daily transit in conjunction with your own natal chart to see what's highlighting for you? Maybe where electromagnetics are coming in, where you're getting a center that you don't usually get, especially with some of the longer planet transits. So when you've got Jupiter, Saturn, some of those Mercury, Venus, and even Mars to a degree, they're not terribly long transits. And certainly the moon. The moon can really bring some powerful energies, but often they're not here long enough for us to really sink into them and get a flavor for them. So maybe with some of these longer transits, you could check them out, see what they do to your chart, see what energy they bring to you, what your experience is. And if you would like to share, I would love to read your comments. Would you like to share? I always read the comments that come in. I am informing you of that. That's me done for today. Fifth line day tomorrow, so I will see you then. And until then, go gently.